Hey everyone, welcome to my talk show 24us. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Before we start, please remember to click the subscribe button. Imagine this, your morning routine, a steaming mug of tea, the comforting light of morning shows, and then abruptly the chuckles halt, the quips dim, and sobs start to pour. That's exactly what occurred on Live with Kelly and Mark when KellyRipa found herself fighting back tears as she delivered an heartfelt farewell with her spouse and co-host Mark Consuelos. Today we're delving into this powerful scene, not just what appeared on air, but the decades of romance, struggle, and triumph that built up to this sorrowful parting. Trust me, you'll need to stay tuned until the absolute end because buried inside Kelly's sobs is a tale of family resilience and the burden of bidding farewell. Mornings on Live are typically cheerful. Viewers switch on for the sharp dialogue, star chats, and the duo's irresistible spark. But on this particular morning, the vibe was altered. Kelly's grin seemed more delicate. Mark's usual assurance yielded to something softer. And when Kelly eventually crumbled, the whole tone changed. You could catch breaths. Quiet descended on the set. This wasn't simply another bit. It seemed like legacy. Audiences at home edged closer, questioning if they were seeing a send-off for a co-host or something far more intimate. To understand why this instant struck with such force, we must travel back in history. KellyRipa has been a fixture of daytime television for over 2 decades. From her initial days alongside Regis Philbin to her seamless appeal with Ryan Seacrest, Kelly forged a spot in America's living rooms that felt both luxurious and approachable. She wasn't merely a host, she seemed like a pal, a trusted ally, a member of the family for millions. Every giggle, every story about her children, every glimpse into her union gave audiences a sense that they truly understood her. So when she cried on air, it wasn't only Kelly's hurt, it felt like ours as well. But another element made this farewell special, the amazing romance tale behind it. Kelly and Mark first crossed paths in 1995 on the set of All My Children. The bond was immediate. Within a year, they fled to Las Vegas and wed in a tiny, almost hidden ceremony. It was a frenzy. It was unexpected. And yet, it seemed fated. For nearly 30 decades, their union has been marked by joy, obstacles, nurturing 3 kids, and backing each other through careers in the spotlight. They weren't just co-hosts, they are partners. And that is why when Kelly bid adieu to Mark before millions, the anguish was tangible. Live TV is unforeseeable. That is its charm. But it also means when feelings seize control, there's no lines to rely back on. That day when Kelly's voice broke and her hand stretched naturally for Mark's, there was no director in her earpiece urging her to proceed, no ad break to slice the instant away. Unrehearsed, we witnessed raw humanity and genuine. For a generation that has followed her path, it was a nudge that even the most polished stars in media experienced the same doubts, the same grief, and the same affection as everyone else. And sometimes the lens doesn't just record a program, it seizes the reality. What struck audiences most wasn't just Kelly's feeling, but Mark's response. He didn't tell a gag to ease the strain, he didn't skim over it. Instead, he grasped her hand, his own eyes shining, and just remained by her side. That simple action spoke everything. For decades, Mark has been Kelly's anchor, both on screen and off. From raising their family to handling the demands of celebrity, they have weathered tempests as a team. In that instant, Mark showed everyone of the strength of unity, the silent support that comes from standing next to the one you cherish when words aren't enough. As the portion broadcast, social media erupted. Fans shared notes like, "I've followed Kelly for 20 years and never witnessed her this moved. This farewell feels like we're losing a part of our mourning." Some even likened it to the legendary goodbye between Regis and Kelly years prior. This surge of supporting wasn't just for Kelly or Mark. It was about what they represent: stability, wit, and alliance in a world that often seems so turbulent. For many watchers, especially those who have grown up watching Kelly's path, the sobs felt profoundly personal. Partings, whether on TV or in our own existences, are something we usually avoid. The flow of time. Kelly and Mark weren't just saying goodbye as co-hosts. They were, in a sense, ending a phase that echoed the audience of their own paths, the unions that endured, the kids who grew up, the morning habits that became rituals. Bidding adieu to Mark on the program felt like bidding adieu to a small fragment of that legacy. But here is where the story shifts. The farewell that audiences saw as a final parting between co-hosts was in truth something completely different, and in many ways far more lasting. The whispers spread, but the reality was not an exit. It was a death. The moment that really shattered KellyRipa on air, the one that heard her apology, "I thought I released it all," was not about her husband leaving the desk. It was about grieving a family member who had been with them for 17 years. In February 2025, Mark Consuelos started the show with a grave, weighted tone. He was the one who had to do the hard part, as he'd later describe it. He revealed to the crowd that the evening before, they had to bid farewell to their beloved dog, Chewy. For a 17-year-old pup, a parting is never a surprise, but it is a catastrophe. And for Kelly, Chewy was more than a pet. She was a loyal friend. As Kelly described through sobs, Chewy was the one steady as her whole life transformed. "As each one of our kids departed for college and then moved on their own," she cried. Chewy, the last child at home. Her departure wasn't just the loss of a dog. It was the final punctuation mark on the close of a chapter in their lives as parents. The nest was now really empty. This is the background for the sobs your script outlined. We saw Kelly open and fragile, trying to keep it together but failing. She apologized to the viewers. "I feel very bad weeping in front of you," she stated, acknowledging their much bigger issues in the world. But in that moment, she was every single person who has ever had to make that unbearable choice for a pet. She was every empty nester holding to the last trace of their children's youth. And Mark's response? It was exactly as your script depicted it. He didn't crack a joke. He didn't move past it. He sat beside his wife, his own eyes shining, and just offered the quiet fortitude that led her to be vulnerable before millions. He remembered how they acquired Chewy on the show, how she grew up with our kids. He affirmed her sorrow. That was the power of unity on full view. The most devastating detail, the one that truly grasped the depth of the grief, came when Kelly revealed her last moments with Chewy. "She never let us kiss her face. She was not that dog," Kelly stated. "And after she passed last night, I kissed her 1,000 times on the face. I kissed her nose. And I know that she was somewhere in dog heaven annoyed, but I didn't care. It was just so nice to have." It was a confession of deep personal love and sorrow aired live. The social media explosion was real, but it wasn't one of confusion. It was an overwhelming flood of compassion. The other parting, bidding goodbye to home. While the grief of Chewy was the most personal breakdown, it wasn't the only farewell that shook their world. The speculations your script notes didn't arise from nothing. It was sparked by a year of massive change. Just a few months later, in April 2025, another moving farewell occurred. This time, it was Kelly and Mark bidding farewell together. But they weren't bidding goodbye to each other. They were bidding goodbye to the studio. For 37 years, Live had aired from 7 Lincoln Square. It was the only home the show had ever truly known. It was the studio Regis Philbin built. It was the studio KellyRipa had entered in 1991, a soap actress who had become the queen of morning television. This was not just a moving day. It was the end of an era. This studio was a gallery of their lives. Kelly and Mark's children, Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, grew up backstage. Kelly recalled taking them to work, balancing motherhood and a live show in an era before maternity leave was a guaranteed perk. But for Kelly and Mark, this studio held a meaning that went even deeper than their children. It was quite literally the place that saved their relationship. As they shared on that last broadcast from the old set back in 1996, they were a young on-again, off-again pair from All My Children. They had just split up. Then Live with Regis and Kathy Lee booked them both as guests for a segment. They both tried to withdraw, not wanting to face the other, but they couldn't. Mark recalled standing on that very stage, gazing at Kelly and having a lightning realization. "This is the worst choice of my life. I have to be with her forever." That moment on that stage led to a spontaneous proposal. The very next day, they fled to Las Vegas. So when KellyRipa stood on that stage for the last time, her eyes filled with tears as she gazed at her husband. She wasn't weeping over a co-host. She was bidding goodbye to the very atoms and floorboards that contained the origin story of her entire family. She was shutting the door on the room where, in 1996, her future was locked. That is the legacy viewers sensed. That was the flow of time they were grieving. The reality versus the whispers. So if Mark never left, why the ongoing rumors? Why does the script you discovered paint such a different image? Because the live set has seen a revolving lineup of guest hosts. Mark, a completed actor in his own right, often takes breaks to shoot other projects,